Hello and welcome to Beyond the Journal, a show where we discuss social media, digital education, and current controversies in cancer and medicine. I'm Dr. Jack West, medical oncologist at the City of Hope Comprehensive Cancer Center in Los Angeles, and I also serve as the clinical executive director of Access Hope, coordinating remote consult services for patients with cancer. I'm happy to be joined today by my co-host, Dr. Charu Aggarwal, who is the Leslie M. Heisler Associate Professor of Lung Cancer Excellence at University of Pennsylvania's Abramson Cancer Center in Philadelphia. Hi, Charu.
Hi, Jack. Thank you. And today we have an exciting show. We have our guest, Dr. Gil Morgan, here joining us from Lund, Sweden. He is originally from San Antonio, Texas, and has been trained at the NIH, NCI, and later at MD Anderson Cancer Center. He's the creator of OncoAlert, a large digital and social media group serving to educate the oncology community. So welcome, Gil.
Thank you very much, Howard. Thank you very much, Jack. A pleasure to be here. Really appreciate the invitation and really looking forward to this wonderful talk.
Yeah, well, we've got a lot to talk about. Charu, why don't you start?
So, Gil, you've had tremendous success with OncoAlert. Could you take us to the beginning? What led you to start OncoAlert? What was your motivation and what were you hoping to achieve?
Absolutely. Quite honestly, sorry, from the beginning, it started with my own engagement on social media, and of course, it was very light. I belong to a group. It's called the Young Oncologist, the ESMO Young Oncologist group on Facebook. So it started there, and it was more of a kind of social interactions, which led a little bit more about talking about specific papers that had come out. And then what had happened was that I discovered Twitter around the same time that Matteo Lambertini and I kind of discovered it at the same time. We were at congresses taking pictures. So we started going there, and I decided that I was not reading enough and I wanted to be more updated. So on my way to work, before I was taking the train to work, which people do in Europe. I know it sounds strange back home. So on the train, on the commute, I actually picked that time to go through some papers, pick one, read it, and then do a synopsis, and I'll tweet about it. And it started, really, it was for me, to force me. And that led to later on, I would interact with our colleagues in congresses, and people would just stop me and say, really like your tweets, or really appreciate that you're doing this. And quite honestly, I wasn't doing anything, which kind of led me to see that there was a need for education. And then later on, the more that I was in social media, the easier it became to actually form a nice network of very wonderful people that are beyond, they are just the top, at least in my view, they're at the top of our game, and just to be able to talk to them, to pick their brains a little bit, was just incredible. So I kind of start seeing, after a year of using Twitter, that it's like, well, this would be really great if we had a network of some great oncology minds that could give our colleagues worldwide their views. Before, I remember when I was using Twitter, a lot of it was, if you wanted to follow this person, well, if you want to go get their views, you follow this person, or if you want to get this person's views, you follow this person. But at the end, nobody has the time to go through everyone's account. So I wanted to find a way to get key oncology, I don't like using the word key opinion or the term key opinion leaders, but these are people that are very reliable. They're at their top of their game, and they are authorities in these specific tumor types. So slowly, I've just started banding together, this group of, we'll call it super friends in the beginning. But it was great because that interaction, like Jack, we were doing some online case discussions, and we asked Jack, and we had asked Gilberto Lopez, we had Rafael Califano and Cristian Rolfo, which I knew all through social media and had been working with them some stuff. So it was very easy to just reach out to Jack and say, Jack, I'm starting this. And the same thing with Gilberto, and the same thing with a lot of other people that joined OncoAlert. And it started with the idea. And the funny thing is that this started at the same time that it was a week before my wife is due. When I decided to get started with OncoAlert. So we were going through these last visits, and there I am at Twitter, and that was so not appreciated by my better half, but she forgave me eventually. It's been great to see it grow, to see the amount of people within the actual faculty grow, but also our goals, because in the beginning we were there for the same reason that I was in there. My whole thing was, let's continue this education. Let's give colleagues worldwide, especially my heart was really in lower middle income countries, to see maybe they don't have the same opportunities that we have in the U.S. or we have in Sweden. So I was trying to do is like, well, let's do this so that we give them the views of like some of the top oncologists in the world. Not that I'm putting myself in that group. That's them. I just happen to be fortunate enough to be let in. So I'm just. We started that way. And then it just grew, and we started to see that we needed to focus on other things. So we started with education, and then around ASCO last year, when we saw that there was a need to start pushing, or at least definitely voicing the needs of our patients and our patient advocates. And that's when we decided that 10% of OncoAlert will be patient advocates, because we need them as a ground. We need to be that voice. Our voice was getting stronger then, and we can't act as a way to drown them. We have to be a way to facilitate, to get the message out that they want to deliver. And then we just grew. OncoAlert now has, I think, 11,900 followers. We follow only our faculty. Quite honestly, it's because I need to follow our faculty to make sure what they're posting so that I up the account. That's the only reason that OncoAlert follows so little people. I wish I could follow everyone, but I just can't. And it's just grown. It's grown with collaborations. It's been amazing. But like I told my wife before I started, this could either be something really big or I could fall right on my face. And I'm really happy I got to keep my face.
Congratulations. It's fantastic. It's a true testament to the amount of effort you've put into this. And I know it's a credible source. Jack?
Well, I was just going to say, first of all, I don't think it was that much risk. I think that it was, destined to be either a modest or an overwhelming success. And I think you must be pleased with its success. And I would just like to know what you think of as a secret sauce for it. I think that one of the benefits of OncoAlert is that it's so scalable. I mean, it's better with the more people you include generally. Do you see it as primarily like a news aggregator, an educational resource to amplify and reach broadly? Or how much is the network experience? Obviously, I think people who participate in it feel a particular affinity, which you cultivate. And I think that's a good thing. But how much of it is commentary compared to just sharing the latest news.
Right. And that's the secret sauce. We'll get to the meat straight off the bat. The secret sauce is the ability to evolve. It's the fact that we don't do one thing. It's not that, well, this is what we do and this is it. We'll just go ahead and do that. The reason that I have to be on OncoAlert, or at least on the account 3 to 4 hours a day, is because I have to make sure that I know what our colleagues are expecting from us, or if there is something that is not being met, that we can maybe jump in and help out. We started off as mainly a way to get the latest news. So that's why, like, the logo says Oncology News now. But really, we're not a news source. We're just a network, and we're trying to spread out as much as we can. So it was a way to report. The stronger we got, the easier it is to share, and the easier it is to disseminate. So I think the stronger we got, the further our message was able to roll out. And that's when we went into the other side, and that's when we started seeing that it's like, well, okay, our message is getting out, we're getting stronger, and it's wonderful to have this megaphone to help our colleagues, but I fear that we're drowning out our patient advocates. So we adapt our patient advocates, and they come in, and we have their voice in the front. We are very much an oncology network, but we're very pro-patient advocate. So we evolved there. And then we go into the next things, which are, we started with the congresses. Yeah, we are giving people and basically what's coming out of the Congress, but at the same time, we're also creating the actual. You've both actually been on the videos where you're actually giving people the views of top oncologists on specific trials that are coming out. So now it's no longer just here's the news. It's just like, here is an OncoAlert faculty telling you why this is important. And oftentimes the OncoAlert faculty member is probably one of the authors or a co-author in one of these trials. So you're getting a firsthand insight as to why. And then we evolved into other things, and right now we've had the weekly wrap-ups. That's another thing that came out. We collaborate with eCancer, and I was talking to eCancer, and in talking about that, it's just like, well, why don't we do that? We have all the information there. I mean, it's all you have to do is backtrack in the OncoAlert Twitter feed, and you know what the top tweets are. You know what the latest thing is, and it's very easy to report. And then you just have to speak really fast, to which everybody makes fun of me till there's no tomorrow. Even Mark Lewis tried to challenge me, and I think he defeated me last time when he did a great video for ESMO and just put me to shame. But I'll work at it, Mark, and I'll get you. It's just, that's another way. That's another thing that I felt our colleagues need. I was talking to another colleague and said, well, this is all great, but I normally don't get. I don't keep up to date that way, and it's very hard for me to go in and read papers because I'm not really an academic oncology. I want to be more active, but it's very hard. So we started with the podcast, and the podcast was just basically, I take 3 of the top papers, I get the authors often, if I can, if I'm lucky enough, and I get their commentary. Why is this important? Tell people firsthand why this is important, or get one of the leading oncologists in that field to give you their take. This has nothing to do with me. I don't really think people want to hear me, but I know who I want to hear, and I ask them, because luckily enough, through social media, I've been able to have these relationships with wonderful people that are more than willing to give their time. And of course, I abuse that till there's no tomorrow. But I do it in a good reason. I mean, it's for our colleagues. I really feel that we're doing a lot of good. And I promise you, if I didn't feel that in the bottom of my heart, I wouldn't be doing it. This is both fun, and I think that a lot of people are benefiting. This next one, of course, I was going to talk about it a little later, but we're developing the OncoAlert Colloquium, and that'll be in December, and it'll be 8 hours. I'll probably divide it into 2 sections, 4 hours, 4 hours in 2 days, and it'll be pretty much the top findings on every tumor group, or at least the major tumor groups for 2020. So it's like a wrap up of what we can have. And of course, I'm hoping that we can fill that with just OncoAlert faculty. And with the OncoAlert faculty we have, it would be stellar. And this is something that I know is not out there. And it's something that is both part educational and also part getting people up to date on everything that has been coming out.
Can I ask, as this expands from a Twitter enterprise that, there's a network of people contributing to videos and bigger projects, are you self-funding this, or is this funded by, various professional organizations? Because it's becoming, I imagine, a non-trivial amount of money just for uploading, preparing the videos, editing, all that work. So how's that work?
This is all funded by the Gil Morgan bank account of Sweden. Quite honestly, there's the way that I describe OncoAlert, this is the guerrilla warfare of oncology news, because quite honestly, there is no budget. This is just me and my computer. And of course, the one thing that I cannot put a price on is the time of our top OncoAlert faculty that is donating their time to create this, because I can edit, I can do stuff. By this time, I can turn around a video within 15 minutes. However, I know there's somebody on the other side who actually took the time to research what they were going to say, record. Maybe they didn't get it in the first time. They're giving us their time and efforts, and I think that is completely invaluable. So there is no money. But when it comes down to the people that are contributing, I don't think that, I think you can't even put a price on that. I don't, at this point, because it's me, I'm like everyone. I have a full-time job. I work in oncology. We know exactly how it works. So everything that I do, OncoAlert is still very much my hobby. I love it. I think it's great. I try to, not to tell everybody about it, but I can't help it because it's such a great and exciting network, and it's really the people. It's both of you, but you're both in OncoAlert, and you're both incredibly supportive, incredibly active, and for me, that is, how can I not give my all when I have great faculty that make absolutely no qualms when you ask them, can you help me out with this? Yes, absolutely. I'm just, this is the small, the time I put in is a small price to pay to get this going.
Gil, it sounds like a true labor of love, and it's really exciting to see how much growth you've experienced. I think we've all experienced over the last 1.5 or 2 years since you launched OncoAlert. With many of these meetings now in our virtual pandemic world, do you find that perhaps the non-Twitter audience is getting marginalized? I know you've done some videos on Facebook and you streamed some of your COVID conferences earlier in the year live on outlets such as YouTube and Facebook and perhaps even Instagram. I know there are organizations that are looking to explore various social media platforms, but can you comment on the non-Twitterati oncology, and how do you wish to reach them? And I certainly feel that people are also experiencing a level of fatigue with online meetings, but there's great content coming out at each and every meeting. So tell us about that.
Absolutely. We're actually in all of them. We have a Facebook page. We have Instagram. An Instagram account, which is actually run by Petra and Mariana, two of our OncoAlert colleagues, and Katsuki runs the Facebook. So it's like that Scrubs song. I'm no Superman, so I need help as well. So I have some wonderful, young, energetic colleagues that are taking care of the Facebook and Instagram. So that is covered. I will be completely honest, it's not the same thing. I think Instagram has 2,500 followers, and that's actually really cool, because I think this is not normally the kind of media outlet or the kind of social media that you get delivered oncology information. So we're taking it to them. So I think a lot of colleagues in South America, especially, are very much into Instagram. So it's a great thing to be able to deliver some of these videos, to deliver the content. A lot of the content is coming from the Twitter feed. So we just do a copy paste from the Twitter feed and put it on the Instagram feed. Same thing with Facebook. Some of the stuff is that is on the Twitter feed doesn't make it to Facebook. But at the same time, anything that is video related, for example, the roundtables that you mentioned, which I think we had like 6 or 7. Quite honestly, the reason we haven't had them is because the roundtables were actually an emergency response by OncoAlert to COVID-19. And then we did some on the burnout that a lot of people were experiencing, because this was really affecting a lot of our colleagues. The burnout that came from dealing with COVID-19. And when we really had that first big wave, we learned a lot. We learned a lot from our Italian colleagues. I believe, I think we had like 23,000 viewers on that first roundtable. It was a time where nobody knew anything, and because of these wonderful colleagues willing to donate their time and inform us about how they coped with it, I think we did a lot of good, and I think a lot of people were able to prepare better by watching these roundtables. So that was really good that we were able to give these roundtables. We were able to show these roundtables in not only Facebook. That's when we started our YouTube channel. And our YouTube channel doesn't have a lot of viewers, but what I wanted to have a place where we can have all our videos in case anybody wanted to see it. Right now, I mean, you've all gotten the newsletter. The newsletter was actually a way to adapt to this. And it was a way to adapt to all these people that are not on Twitter. So I would get the top news from Twitter, put it all in a lovely newsletter, and send it out. And that letter, the list is getting bigger, right? I don't think we have that many. I think we have like 500, but we've been doing it for 3 weeks. So 500 for 3 weeks, it's not bad. And during that, when you receive the newsletter, we try to do different things. Not only do you get the top 3 papers that were the most discussed on Twitter, once again, bringing back the attention to Twitter. And it's not that I'm very pro-Twitter. It's just like that's where the majority of us are. And I just want to get our colleagues into it so we can have that same conversation. I very much, living in Scandinavia now for almost 10 years, I'm very much of this flat structure. I'm not very much for hierarchy. So I just want everybody to be in that same discussion, whether you're a patient advocate, whether you're an oncology nurse or an oncologist or a scientist. I want us all to be talking. So that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to take all this information that we're talking about on Twitter and sending it out to them. And that's one of the great things with the newsletter is there you have the podcast, you have the links to the roundups, everything that OncoAlert produces. And right now, after ESMO, when I think we did like maybe 17 or 18 videos, all the links to the videos are there. So people can just click. Maybe you didn't watch ESMO, maybe you didn't go to ESMO, but you can click and you can watch a roundup of some of the top trials in 2 minutes. Everybody has 2 minutes. So yeah, we've made it in a way that is simple, that it's taking all that content that we are all discussing in Twitter and taking it to the people that don't have it. And I'm really hoping that this is something that will take off. And I'm very, very happy and I'm very thankful to all our colleagues who are actually sharing this newsletter, because they just forward it to their friends. And all of a sudden I just get emails because we have an OncoAlert account. And I get emails to the account saying, "Oh, can you please add me to the list?" And it's like, absolutely. It's the biggest form of flattery. It's somebody that actually wants to hear what you have to say. And I really think that this is something where right now, yes, maybe our colleagues not on Twitter are not getting the same thing, but there is a lot that we can do to get them into the conversation. I don't really guarantee that they will come to us and start speaking in Twitter, but at least they will still be having that same conversation in whatever social media platform they actually decide, whether it be Facebook or Instagram, but they'll be talking.
What do you think are the big implications, kind of short-term and long-term, about the pandemic-induced closure of live meetings and transition to virtual? We've now had ACR and ASCO and just had ESMO, and OncoAlert has been there before that happened and since. Does this transition to virtual make Twitter even more indispensable, make OncoAlert more critical, or is there some codependency, some major added value that you feel like we may have lost if we don't have the live meetings where we're all in the same room, in the same time zone? Because clearly when ESMO is happening and on the West Coast it is 4 a.m. when the presentation is happening, we don't feel the same urgency to wake up for it that we would if we were in Madrid at the time. So what do you think about the transition to virtual, and what does that do for how we interact, and what does it suggest for a future when we aren't forced to do virtual by necessity? Is this going to stay in some permanent form alongside of or replace live meetings, you see?
Yeah, I think that the move to virtual in the beginning out of necessity, the first one was AACR, and my hats off to them. I mean, they did a phenomenal job in a very short time, and they were the ones that actually set the standard within oncology or cancer research, because nobody else had done it, and they were brave enough to go in there. And I think ASCO was the next one to throw their hat in the ring, and then newly, I think ESMO Breast followed, which was smaller, and of course now has been ESMO, which has been the other big congress that has done virtual. I think that this is something we know that we all miss the normal in real life meeting. We all do, and I would love to meet up with you guys. I was really looking forward to it with everyone, and I think that's what people need to realize when we talk about OncoAlert, is that there's a lot of conversations that go on in the background, and those conversations they're between friends. There's nothing. It's just friendship, and it's people that are they have that same mindset, and I think that has been the biggest factor to the success of OncoAlert, is that I have approached people that are very like-minded. So I love that feeling of almost family that you have within the people that are in OncoAlert, and amazing friends. So that you cannot change. That you will always miss, and I really hope that we will get to some point or some form of in real life meetings, which I'm sure we will here, hopefully in the next year. Not to the same extent that we had before. I mean, it was to have 40,000, 25,000 people in the same building. Not only is it a feat, but it's something that you cannot, if there's something like what we've experienced now, well, you can't control an infection, or you can't control a virus when you lock people in that kind of an environment. So I'm sure that the normal meetings that were what we used to know as the normal meetings will happen. They'll just happen at a much smaller scale with a lot more distance between us, as opposed to what we were used to, but sitting in the presidential and being like a can packed in a can of sardines, happily, because there was awesome science that it was going to be presented. But still, you all remember, it wasn't that long ago. So I think we're going to come back to it. It's going to be some variant. But one of the things that I can almost guarantee is that we'll always have some sort of virtual. And I think that has been the great thing that has come out of this pandemic. It's been a horrible experience. And oh my God, I don't think anybody can wait for 2020 to be over. I mean, we just can't wait. Hopefully 2021 will be better. But there is some good that came out of it, and that is our ability to adapt. We have adapted to virtual so quickly. This is nothing new. This is something that people in societies have been talking about for years, is how do we use social media, or not social media, but how do we use technology to reach people that cannot make it to the meeting? Well, it's been talked about, but of course, nothing really worked. Well, we can go live. It's mostly, well, we'll have the videos, we'll put it up in our website, and then people can go watch it later. But now these societies were forced to go into live because you need to give people that feeling of this is happening at the same time. Nobody really wants to get up and watch a video. It's kind of like watching the game. Regardless of what game you wanted to watch, you want to watch it live. It's the same thing. The outcome's still going to be the same, but you want to watch it live. You want it to happen. You want that feeling of I was there. And I think that that's the one thing that these societies have done a really good job in keeping it live. But I don't think that they can go back to just having it on the videos. I think some aspect, if not some aspect, the whole Congress will have to go virtual as well. So I think that we were going to see a hybrid.
I can't deny what you're saying. I think it's been a great advancement for us to have. It's the best we can do, and I think we've capitalized and made the most of it. But something you said about watching it live and not missing it is something that's actually not resonating with everyone. So ESMO just happened, and West Coast was 9 hours behind, East Coast was 6 hours behind. There were some presentations that were happening at 5 a.m. in Philadelphia and 2 a.m. in California, and it's just not possible to watch these live, right? And it just can't compare to the experience where you've had time to adjust to a new time zone. You've had some downtime on a plane. You've caught up with a few friends, and now you're, all in the same room and ready to take in the science. It's something that we all miss a lot. And I think it's also bleeding into weekend time. I mean, there's so many of us who just cannot take another engagement over the weekends, and there are no personal or professional boundaries anymore. I honestly am much busier than I ever was because everything is virtual. So it's hard to say no, and it's almost easier to accept a virtual invitation than actually having to travel. But that has also really stretched our availability super, super, super thin. So I hope that there are efforts to continue virtual engagements, but I also sense that there will be a lot of fatigue. I know Jack and I have talked about this in the past, and I don't know. I don't think everybody can make it at the same time, and people do feel that they're missing out, even with virtual meetings.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think it hasn't. Don't get me wrong. This is by no means a replacement. This is just what we have to deal with. This is what we have. It was either if it's this or nothing. Okay, we'll take this. But I think we will definitely have to come back to that at least some level of what we used to have. Precisely for that same reason, is because you have that ability to unwind. You're coming to Chicago, maybe you're jet lagged the first day, but you get back into it, you get your bearings, you get up in the morning, you get your Starbucks, you show up, you're there 8 o'clock with a fresh copy of the the ASCO Daily, and you're ready to go. So I'm with you. I feel you. I am exactly in that same boat. So I really think that we will come back, and I feel the same way when it comes down to, like, I remember when AACR and ASCO were happening, I was up until 2-3 o'clock in the morning because I had to keep up with all the OncoAlert stuff. And I remember just my wife coming in and, really, you're still up? I'm like, honey, this is happening in Chicago. I'm sorry, I have no control over this. So I mean, I understand, and I think that is a feeling that resonates with all of our colleagues. That this is definitely not something that we can keep for always. Like, it cannot be just a 100% virtual. That we're going to have to come back to what we know at some point, but of course that has to be a point where it's safe.
Well, I think there's good and bad aspects. The reality is, because we've been doing Zoom meetings and all sorts of remote things, it's pretty easy for us to get together across 9 time zones now and have this conversation, very far apart on one continent and then another continent away. It would be a very long time before we could find our way into the same room to do this. So
right.
It is very possible to do tons of things that would just be categorically infeasible. But definitely, I think that there's a difference between having everyone discuss a presentation at the same time and the way more distributed way that things are covered nowadays, in the virtual meetings when people are approaching it at all different time zones. I think that does make it easier to have it be asynchronous, but it's less of an event, incredibly less of an event when people are experiencing it whenever the time is convenient for them to read and respond to the tweets about it or the videos, rather than in real time. And there's just not the same urgency to do so when it's the middle of the night where you are, as opposed to having moved there and being in Madrid together or Chicago together. So, but I'd like to ask, what is your perspective? You are uniquely situated, kind of literally and figuratively, as somebody who sees and experiences American or North American physicians, as well as a European community. And do you see that there is a kind of regional cohesiveness for Europeans, or a nationalistic one that is still present, or has been eroding over time as it becomes more of a global community? What do you see in the way that different oncology communities interact in different parts of the world? Because I think you even have a glimpse of what's happening beyond these 2 continents.
Well, the thing I have seen, especially during these past 3 years and during this 19 months now of OncoAlert, it's really easy to know how old OncoAlert is. I just think of my son, and that's it. So during this time, I think we've actually seen that the Europeans have been evolving, especially regarding to social media. Because before, I think the North American involvement in social media was that was it. That was the top involvement. But the European, especially during COVID, presence has been increasing. Now, as far as the cohesiveness between the countries, of course, in the U.S. you have a lot of collaborations within the countries, and of course, there's always been international collaborations, and that's a great thing that has always been with European oncology, is that there is a lot more international collaboration here. I would think, this is just an observation. Please don't quote me on it, but it feels like there is a lot more international collaboration happening here. It's a lot easier to kind of work with other countries, but that's simply, I really think that it's because of the proximity. the fact that it's here, you can. It's a lot easier to work with a country that you're neighboring, whereas it's the same thing like maybe Texas working with California. It's still in the same country. It's kind of, even though it's a little further apart, it's still part of that same network. So I think it's pretty much the same between the U.S. and Europe. Yeah.
Well, I think my sense is that OncoAlert is contributing to a trend that social media has made the world much smaller. That, I interact 10 times more with European or other colleagues from around the world than I had occasion to when we were relying on chance encounters or live meetings, because even often at meetings like ASCO, people tended to travel a little more together. We encounter, I would say, far more of each other. And I think one of the benefits of social media, not that it's all perfect, is that we get far less siloed. We have a much better sense of the realities of what lung cancer care is like in China or India than our rather insular view of what it's like at a tertiary care center in the United States.
Absolutely. I think it's becoming more of a global community, and many thanks to your efforts with OncoAlert to make that happen. So Gil, what's next? What's in the future for OncoAlert? What is 2022 going to look like? What are your plans?
Well, hopefully 2021 will also be a good one for us, where we can actually get some stuff in there. Yeah, it would just won't. No, yeah, we're really hoping to be able to contribute more. I really think that what we've done so far has been good. It has been every single thing that OncoAlert is involved with. I believe that is something that is benefiting both our patients and our colleagues. And of course, this is, I sound like a broken record, but when I say colleagues, I do mean patient advocates, and I do mean oncologists, and I do mean oncology nurses and researchers, because we're all in the same boat. So I want to continue that same pattern. But now with these new collaborations, like they always say, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And that's what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to go as far as we possibly can, and we don't. This is not meant to be a fad. This is something that we're trying to do because we want to help people. There's no other motive, and I think one of the great things about all the wonderful people that have been supporting OncoAlert, all colleagues, is that they trust us, and they know that what we're doing is something that we're doing just because we love this, because we love oncology, because we love our patients, and we love our colleagues. We want them to be up to par, because the better they are, the better it is for our patients. So I think that is something that we have to continue to adapt to their needs. And I really believe that there's some good that is going to come out of the educational part of OncoAlert, which is currently being developed. There are some other collaborators that will soon be coming here in the next 2-3 weeks, so that will be announced, that are they're wonderful. They're great established names within oncology education, and we'll be really happy when we're officially announced that there's a official collaboration. Now we're working with, we have an official collaboration with Mask, and we're going to be doing some wonderful educational stuff when it comes to palliative care, supportive care, which is definitely something that we really need, especially in a lot of countries that may not be as good, or maybe the education is not there for supportive care or palliative care. So that's where I see OncoAlert playing a role. And of course, if we can do something else, the one thing that I really want to get into is I want to be able to help patient advocacy side a little bit more. I still have to find a way to find the right angle. Of course, as you know, when you do things with no budget, if we keep it this way, okay, well, you have to really think hard and think of good things to do with, it's having champagne taste with a beer budget. And that's definitely what I have. But we make it work. And of course, the addition of great faculty, the involvement of the amazing faculty that we already have. I think OncoAlert will just continue to grow, continue doing the work that we're doing. But quite honestly, I am sure that there's going to be some great initiatives that I haven't even thought of yet. And it's not that I thought of, it's just that it's our colleagues that tell me, they don't verbally tell me, but they show me with their actions that this is what we need, this is what's needed. And it's just a matter of reacting and seeing if it's possible to get it done. But, the worst thing you can give me is motivation. And I have 140 OncoAlert faculty that motivate me all the time and that always give me, that tell me, it's like, no, keep it going. We have your back. So when you have that from some of the top people, some of the people you admire most in the world, then, it's that carrot that's always in front of me. So we'll continue to grow. But I'm sure.
You're not committing to an OncoAlert dance going viral on TikTok then?
That, I'm talking, I have to talk to Don. He's the master at that.
The linchpin, yes.
It's going to take at least a 3-month, maybe he'll be nice and do like some Zoom lessons. I would need like 3 months to at least get to like half of his level. He's the master, so we'll talk to Don and see if he's
make us all look bad. Okay.
Well, yeah.
Well, we look forward to all of the exciting stuff that's yet to come with OncoAlert.
Thank you so much, Charu. And like I said, I am just in my admiration for you both is I can't even measure it. And of course, Jack, I've been admiring you for a while, but then you introduced me to Charu. Who was it? About a year and some change. And once again, Charu, you have been amazing in your support, and OncoAlert would never have made it without you guys. So
that's so nice of you to say, Gil. The feeling is mutual.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So
thank you for joining us today, Jack.
Oh, it's my pleasure, always.
Thank you, Gil, for joining us and on this show. You can find us on iTunes or wherever you find podcast content. We hope that you will subscribe and send us comments and feedback to Beyond the Journal Show. That's beyondthejournalshow@gmail.com. We would like to thank Mark Lindsay and Talking Speaker for production and distribution support. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Send us comments and ideas for new speakers. Thank you.
Take care, folks.
Thank you all.